Cheap Chinese saddles from AliExpress. Do they work? Well, I bought this one from a brand called Ryet, and in fact I've actually bought 2 of them, and I've been riding with it for 6 months now, so I think I've got a pretty good handle on what they're actually like. Now, you can pick these up for pretty damn cheap. They usually come in between about 30 to 50 pounds here in the UK, so for a carbon saddle that's fairly light, I'll get onto the weight in a bit, that is not bad at all. So, intro over, let's get into it. I don't normally do this, but I'm actually going to start with the negatives that I found with these saddles. First of all, when you go onto the website of AliExpress, it's kind of hard to find which ones are which. They seem to have like 2 different versions of these that look the same. Then they've got the normal padded versions, the 3D printed versions. They've got lots of different shapes, and the naming conventions, as always with these Chinese companies, are really, really bad. And it's just very hard to navigate to find out which one you want or which one you need. That brings me on to negative number 2. Now, I think because obviously it's cheap carbon, like they're kind of just mass producing a lot of these, there's not much flex in the saddle. If I try and squeeze that there, there's just a lot of carbon in the saddle. So there's not much extra comfort. I mean, as you can see, the rails and the saddle can almost act like a spring itself, increasing comfort. Obviously, you don't want that too springy. You're gonna get like saddle sores and stuff like that. But I just find that, yeah, the lack of flex makes the saddle slightly less comfortable to me. One thing I will say is that, well, there actually isn't that much 3D printed material there. Like if I put my finger there, it's not even like a finger width worth of material. Now it feels better at the back where they do have more 3D printed structure. There's more density to it. But yeah, on the front there, you can see that it's practically wafer thin. I mean, there's just nothing there. And when you've got all of your body weight on it, well, it kind of just becomes a really hard saddle again. You're not absorbing much of the body shape underneath it, or of the pelvis shape when you're on the front of the saddle here. Yeah, you can just see it's really thin, and what, even in the central bit, that's literally just rock solid there. There's no squish at all. There's slightly on the sides, but yeah, the central cutout, not so great. Now, the final and most important negative of these is, well, as you can see, I've got 2 of the same saddle here. The densities of the 3D print is different. So the one I've got on my hands here is quite firm. It's actually very hard. It's more, I would say, akin to the Seller Italia version of this 3D printed saddle, so more similar to that. This one I've currently got on the bike. I wanted to try it as it came, but it's gonna be really hard to see on video, but this is noticeably softer, like not even a little bit. If this has like a 9 out of 10 in firmness, this is like a 5 out of 10 in firmness. This is more like the Specialized Power Mirror saddle in terms of softness, which I tend to get on more with. Effectively, what I'm trying to say here is, if you like a firmer or a softer padded saddle, I don't know which one you're going to get when you order this saddle. So there's kind of a big risk there when you do order it, and you don't know if that density is going to work for you, whether it's going to be harder or softer. So let's just say there are some inconsistencies there. With that being said though, I think there are some good things to this saddle. And that first one is weight. So if I weigh this one in here, you can see that it comes in at 159 grams. So obviously, if they spent lots of time in it, shaving some of that excess carbon down, they could definitely make that lighter if they wanted to. But you know what, in my opinion, 159 grams is light enough for a saddle. You know, I'm not personally a big fan of those like wafer thin saddles that weigh like 50, 60 grams. They just don't suit me. I need some padding in there. Next up is the general shape to the saddle. So obviously they do have multiple different ones on the website, and every saddle shape suits different people. But you can see that this one has a slightly flatter profile, better for a more aggressive position. And it has like a nice gentle roll off on the sides as well. Once again, does it suit you? It's very personal. I would say the nose here is fairly wide. It's not the widest I've ever experienced, but it's not the narrowest. It's just a very in-between nose. This is a 135 width saddle, which suits my quite narrow pelvis. They do a 145 and a 155 version as well. longevity in the saddle. Can you spend a long time sitting on it? And this is one of those things where actually I found, yes, even though there's not much density to it, for me, it seems to absorb the abnormalities in my pelvis shape really well. Right, I've got you here at my place of work because I've got skeletons where I can explain why I personally prefer a 3D printed saddle. And the reason is fairly simple. If we look at the pelvis here, the pelvis is made up of 3 bones, not just 1 bone, and they're fused together. Just like your skull and just like your sacrum here, they act as 1 bone, but their bones fuse together. Now, when we sit in a saddle, well, the body's at much more this angle right here. Effectively, we are sitting on those 2 bones right there. Now, they kind of pretend that you're usually sitting on the ischium, which is back here, but not really. You kind of sit quite firmly on that whole ridge right here. Now me, where mine have fused, you can see I've represented it with some blue tack. Effectively, I have a little bit more bone growth. It's quite palpable, it's quite easy to find and touch under there. But effectively, I just find that the 3D print absorbs this better than a normal padded saddle. This is of course over-exaggerated. There's not that much extra growth there, but I just hope that explains kind of why I like a 3D printed saddle basically. And this one, it does do the same. It doesn't do it as well as a specialized mirror, which I personally find the best for me, but it does work. Will the saddle last a long time on your bike? Will it break down early or anything? I don't know, guys. Like I said, I've only been riding for 6 months and I only get so much time in these saddles and stuff when reviewing them. So it's not something I can answer for you, unfortunately. Maybe someone in the comments might have more long-term experience with it and maybe have had some breakdown failures maybe. But personally, I haven't. And to be honest, even though they're quite cheap, they actually feel quite well built. Generally here, I think that the saddle shape is more closely akin to the Sella Italia boost saddle. And if your butt gets along well with that shape, I think it will get along well with this saddle as well. And of course, guys, this is a review based on my opinions on riding and my pelvis shape. Everyone's is different, so take everything I say with kind of a grain of salt. And you probably know which shape of saddles suit you the best, especially if you've been riding for quite a long time. But there it is, my full review of the Ryet 3D printed saddle. As I mentioned earlier, they can be quite hard to find which models are which, and they have terrible naming systems, so you might get unlucky and buy the wrong one if I recommend this to you. So yeah, can I recommend this saddle? Because of the inconsistencies, no, not really, I can't. You just don't know what you're gonna get. With that being said, however, if you do want to risk it, it's a relatively small outlay for what it is. So it's up to you if you want to take the risk, spend that money, and maybe see it going down the drain, maybe not. Of course, if you have any questions, put them down below. I reply to pretty much most things. I'm a little bit behind right now, but I will catch up. Or you can find me over here on Instagram, where you can follow most of my shenanigans there as well. I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in another video.